Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. It's our Dallas Weekly Report as we're going to preview the Dallas Cowboys taking on the New York Giants. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. And joining me today is a 12-year veteran of the National Football League, two-time All-American at Florida State University, first-round pick in the 1981 NFL Draft, my man, Bobby Butler. So if you enjoy our video today, as we're going to break down the 1-3 Dallas Cowboys against the 0-4 New York Giants, please come in and share it here on 100 Yards of Football as we broadcast on the Dallas Weekly, the #1 African-American paper in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So, Brother Butler, let's go back to yesterday. It's just fresh in my mind. The Dallas Cowboys lost to the Cleveland Browns 49-38. Take the floor, sir.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you know, we had some keys. When we covered this last week, we talked about several keys in that game, what the Browns had to do to win the game. I really believed last week that the Cowboys was going to come around and put it all together. You were right. But the key to the game from the Browns to win the game, from my perspective, was this. Number one, I said, the Browns has got to stop Ezekiel Elliott from running the football. Well, that happened. Number two, I said the Brown offense has to do what it does best in running the football. They rushed over 300. They rushed for 307 yards last week. That was key number two. Key number three, I said the Browns has got to get the hands into their playmakers' hands. Get the ball into the playmakers' hands. They did all of those, and the rest is history, right? And so I'll tell you what, man, I'm really disappointed in the Dallas Cowboys, especially from a defensive perspective. I mean, when you put those names down on paper, especially the up front guys, you know, I'm expecting a whole lot more than that, man. I'm expecting a whole lot more than that. And they're one of the worst defenses statistically in the first 4 games in the National Football League. And so as we move forward to this great game that's going to happen next week, when I say great game, Vincent, listen to what I'm saying.
Stop, BB. Stop today. Stop today. Go ahead, my brother.
When I say great game, the tradition and history of this game has been huge. Just like Florida and Florida State, when both of us are 0-10. You know, and so it's a game that you got to get up for because this is a division rivalry for years. You know, and so when I look at this game, I'm you know what? I'm going to stop talking about toys and personnel because that's not working right now.
Preach, brother, preach.
The toys not working right now.
BB, tell the truth today. You played on the defensive side of the ball. You played in the league for 12 years. You was a 2-time All-American at Florida State. At one time, you led the country in block punts.
That's right.
We here 100 Yards of Football. We tell the truth. Come on, brother. You played 12 odd years, and you played on the defensive side of the ball.
That's right. So data speaks. Statistics speak. So let's start with the Giants offense. Well, let me say this on their behalf. They lost their best player a couple weeks ago. It's Saquon Barkley. We know that. Now everything is in Daniel Jones' hands to be who, you know, they claim him to be. But, you know, he's still a young quarterback, and I know that. But statistically, Vincent, this team is not very good on the offensive side of football. I mean, they've had before yesterday, they were like 272 total yards on offense. They averaged 215 yards per passing before the game yesterday. Only 56 yards rushing average per game. I think that's up to about 70-something right now. 12.7 points per game. That has dropped to 11-something as of now. Daniel Jones' quarterback rating was like 42.9%. They're just not getting it done, right? And he is leading the team in rushing before yesterday with 12 attempts and 92 yards rushing. I'm here to tell you those statistics were disaster. He had 2 passing TDs before the game yesterday and 4 INTs. Those are statistics for disasters. But however, the Dallas Cowboys defense, they are giving up 36.5 points per game. They're giving up on average 172.5 rushing yards per game. They're giving up 258 yards in the air per game. Their average the average yards per game, both passing and rushing on this defense, is 430.5 yards a game. So let's just say it this way, Vincent. I mean, we're talking about statistics now, right? Let's just say it this way. The Dallas defense is bad and the Giants offense is bad. So let's say they just nullified each other out. And let's talk about where the game is going to be played. The game is going to be played with the Giants defense and the Cowboys offense. We know that, all right? The Giants defense is pretty good. They're giving up 24 points per game. Rushing yards per game, 106.8. You know, they're giving up average 221 yards passing per game, which is an average total per game, 328 yards per game, right? They're like the 4th or 15th best defense in the league right now. Total points, 4 games, 96 points. 24 points a game, they're giving up. The Cowboys offense, however, is the number 1 offense in the NFL. But these statistics are kind of overrated. And what I mean by that, Vincent, is because of certain things that's in the game. The Cowboys are 1-3 for one reason and one reason only. They are not running the football with Ezekiel Elliott very effectively, and they're turning the ball over, right? Those are the 2 things that is killing this offense. So when you look at them being the number 1 offense in the league, they're 1-3. We win with what, Vincent?
Defense.
We win games and championships with defense. And right now, this is not a championship team by far, right? Their defense is horrible. They're running the ball. They're passing the ball. You know, let me say this. Dak Prescott is throwing the ball. But here's the thing. They need the balance in their offense. See, you got all those toys out there. All that's fine and dandy. But you got to possess the clock. You got to play the physical aspect of the game with Ezekiel Elliott. If you go back and look at the Cowboys over the last 5-6 years, as long as Ezekiel Elliott and Dak's been in the league, they have effectively run the football. They're not doing that right now. But these stats are lopsided because they're just throwing the ball. They're getting behind in games, and all they're doing is throwing the ball. But that's not a winning formula, right? So, but this game will be won whichever side played the best out of the Giants defense and out of the Cowboys offense. Because here's the thing. It's a little different, Vincent, with this game than what's been going in the past. The Giants don't have the offense to play to hang in there with them. They don't have the offense to do it or the ability to do that, to keep that kind of pace. So I'm going to say that the Cowboys should win this game, but they should have won the previous 3 that they lost as well, right? And so it's hard to say, but I just got to say I'm going to give the Cowboys offense a little better performance than the Giants defense this week.
If you like the video today, please comment and share it. Bobby, man, you know I respect you a lot. It's been fantastic being around you for 6 months, and hopefully our relationship continues to the day we die. But you played in the league 12 years, and today, man, you was being very kind to the Dallas Cowboy Nation. I'm going to say it once before. If you haven't watched our video here on the Dallas Weekly, I'm a Cowboys fan, been since 1966. Been doing my research today, and I found a very interesting history tidbit. When I became fans of the Dallas Cowboys in 1966, I was 6 years old. Tom Landry was the head coach, right?
Yes.
Well, Dick Nolan was the defensive coordinator.
Aha.
Ha ha. And then that defense only gave up 1,176 yards rushing on the season, which is a 3.3 average.
Right.
Granted, I think they only played 14 games or 12 games back during the 60s.
Right.
But let's wind the clock today. Who's the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys today? Mike Nolan, who is his son.
Right.
Okay, I found another very interesting history tidbit. The last time Mike Nolan was a defensive coordinator was in 2014. But 3 seasons, with his last season being in 2014, he was with the Atlanta Falcons, where we're broadcasting there here in the Atlanta metro area. So I saw something very, very internalizing. When he was the D coordinator of the Falcons, they finished 24th his first year, 27th his second year, and dead last his last year. So I'm going to bring up another history tidbit. He became head coach of the San Francisco 49ers in 2005, and we know how that ended. It ended up him being fired after a couple of seasons. His offensive coordinator was Mike McCartney. So they got a real strong relationship. So when they first hired Mike Nolan, I was saying, why would they bring in a guy who hasn't been a D coordinator since 2014? So after three games, the Cowboys are 1-3. They've given up over 30 points.
Yes.
The most in franchise history. Going along with what they did yesterday against the Cleveland Browns. Now, I know Cleveland is a good rushing team. They got good backs in Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, who got hurt yesterday. And a third string back, Ernest Johnson out of South Florida.
Went to work.
And he just finished playing in a league that folded, which is the Atlanta Alliance Football League. So, Bobby, you playing 12 years in the league. And I'm trying to figure out, after Nick Chubb got hurt, and Nick Chubb went out in the second quarter, he had 43 yards on 6 carries. The Ernest Johnson ended up with 95 yards in the game.
That's right.
And Cleveland ended up with 307 yards rushing, 16 first downs from rushing, 7.7 yards of average. And when coming into the game last week, I said Cleveland had a chance. It was going to be on Baker Mayfield's arm.
Right.
He only had 165 yards passing yesterday.
That's right.
So I'm looking at this defense, and maybe you can help me because you played in 12 years. You played on some defenses that were good, that were bad. But explain to me a couple of points I'm going to pick out today here on the Dallas Weekly covering the Dallas Cowboys. Watching them play yesterday, the defensive tackles were coming slow out of their stance. I mean, slow like molasses. The edge people failed to set the edge on the runs. And we're talking about Evers and Griffin and DeMarcus Lawrence.
Right.
And Alton Smith had trouble yesterday, too. They linebackers, Joe Thomas and Jalen Smith, couldn't handle the misdirection plays. Then we're going to talk about the secondary. You know how I feel about them, as I said last week. They had problems, as we said, in coverage, but now they're having problems struggling tackling, and especially at the safety position, because I'm not going to put that out there. But when Cleveland scored their first touchdown, and before you respond, I want you to respond to all these things I just said. Okay, on Cleveland's first touchdown, which is a trick play to Jarvis Landry, he threw a perfect pass, Odell Beckham, which is about 37 yards. Now, in the past, when Odell Beckham was a player with the New York Giants, he was a Cowboy killer.
That's right.
So I'm looking at Mike Nolan having all this experience. You would think in a situation like that, that Odell Beckham is high priority to the secondary. Can you explain to me how he got behind, and my man Darren Thompson, who's been out of place ever since the season started? I do Odell Beckham gets behind him, with Odell Beckham being a player personality, a guy that's averaging his career almost 17 yards from reception, and a guy that's burnt the Cowboys when he was playing with the New York Giants. Now, explain all them defensive problems here. Now, I'm gonna ask you here on Dallas Weekly: is it coaching? Is you don't have enough players? Has the players gotten old? Is Everson Griffin overrated? Is the Terrier Poe overrated? Is Treston Hill, who the Cowboys drafted, was he a bust? The linebackers, I understand. Joe Thomas is an undrafted free agent. But what's going on with Jalen Smith? Is it because Lyndon Vander Esch is not playing beside him? And at the safety position, I'm going to say this one more time while I'm here on Dallas Weekly. Stephen Jones, Jerry Jones. Y'all proclaim, and I'm not throwing them in the bus, and I'm not trying to go there being a fan and here on Dallas Weekly. But I'm going to say it again. The young man out of Orange, Texas, free agent, has a Super Bowl ring with the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, he had some problems with the Baltimore Ravens. But do you think that Earl Thomas could help their secondary? Now I'm asking all those questions to you, Brother Butler. Can you explain that to me?
Well, let me start with Earl Thomas. Most definitely. They never should have got rid of Ha-Ha.
Correct.
That's number one. I don't know what that move was all about. I thought that move was to free up space for Mr. Thomas coming in. But it never happened. So I'm asking myself, what's going on with that? Now, let's go back to Coach Nolan and the NFL. If y'all know what I'm saying, some of this stuff that goes on in the NFL is because it's the old boy network. They have had relationships with their fathers. Now it's down to their sons, their children. They take care of one another. So let's just be smart. You did some great research, right? At the end of the day, he should have never been hired. He doesn't have a good track record. I mean, you saw that. He doesn't have a good track record. I don't like to put anybody on the bus like that either, Vincent, but the truth speaks for itself if you go back and research. Now, here's another problem I have with coaches. When a coach have a system in place and he's not good enough a coach to coach the personnel throughout the system, we got problems. If your personnel can't do what you're trying to teach, you got to be able to coach your personnel. That's a problem with coaches that don't know how to coach talent. Okay? If you can't coach talent, you're not a coach. And so that's their problem. They hired a guy who has not been productive, all right? He's not got a good track record, and you hired him. Well, can I put my name in that hat for the coaching job? I'm here. I don't think I can do any worse. But you got guys on there trying to play in a two-point stance who never played in a two-point stance. You got guys who are trying to read. They're doing too much thinking as opposed to, acting or reacting or moving forward. They can't get off the ball. You say they get off the ball slow. They're thinking too much, Vincent, on what to do and what not to do. They're not playing hard because of it, right? So the problem with that is coaching, because I promise you, Everson Griffin can absolutely get after it. We know Lawrence can absolutely get after it. He's doing something different now. We know Jalen Smith can absolutely get after it. Just last year, man. It ain't like these guys are old. These guys can absolutely play, but now they're looking bad because of a system. So I hope that answered that question with that, right? It's a coaching problem, right? And then on the other hand, now I think these guys are second guessing themselves. The one thing you can't have in the NFL, you can't have doubt when you're playing. You better believe, and you better believe strong that you can get the job done. I don't even believe now that any of them are going to the stadium thinking that they can win. That's what it looked like to me too. I look at the faces of Zeke on the sideline. I'm looking at the face of Dak on the sideline, bruh. And that's been like that the whole year. I remember the Falcon game in the first half. They looked like they were like zombies, man. And then they played the best half of football they played the whole year. And then they came around. But, man, this Dallas Cowboy team seems to be lost right now.
Well, one thing I'm going to say as we we're not trying to criticize the defense, but basically we're trying to tell the truth here. Basically, as you say, BB, the data doesn't lie. Offensively, Dak Prescott is looking good and throwing for a lot of yards. But this is a key. Dallas is getting off the slow starts.
Right.
They're getting behind early in the game. One thing that I'm going to say with this, everybody talks about Dak, his money, his ability of being a top 5 quarterback. But all I know is this right here. He's looked good. He has most yards than I think any quarterback over 4 games in NFL history. But you know, Bobby, you played with the Falcons. You know, 9 turnovers in 3 games that lead to 45 points will kill you.
It's disaster.
Your best player, Ezekiel Elliott. I said it last week. I'm going to say it the week before. When Dallas is going to win football games, as you brought up earlier in the conversation, they have to be balanced, 50-50. The best player on the field. I know they got playmakers. CeeDee Lamb, Oklahoma is looking good, looking like the best receiver out of this draft. Amari Cooper had a great day yesterday, 12 receptions, 134 yards. Michael Gallup had 2 receptions, 29 yards. Cedric Wilson out of 901. I think he had 1 catch yesterday, but he played well last week against Seattle, had 2 catches for touchdowns. But when you look at Dallas, it's all about the young man from the Ohio State, Ezekiel Elliott, getting over 100 yards. But granted, the offensive line, will somebody tell Mike McCartney, and this is no respect, I'm not here today to blast no player, but Terrence still doesn't have it yet. He's an undrafted free agent from Texas Tech. The play allowing Myles Garrett to get that key sack when Dallas was up 14-7 that led to a touchdown. Help me out, Jesus. Play Brandon Knight, who's the better player, and move Zach Martin, the right tackle. Terrence Smith played like an all-pro yesterday, like his old self. Right. But please, we blasting the defense, but also there's some problems offensively. Ezekiel Elliott has to play better. 3 fumbles against Atlanta. 3 drop passes against Seattle. 1 lost fumble against Cleveland that led to 7 points. You got to get that young man playing better, and Dallas has got to be able to run the football and get a lead. Now, I'm going to tell you this. The Cowboys offense is looking good, but they're behind. They got to get a lead and control the game.
Right.
Yesterday, Cleveland, time of possession, 33 minutes. Dallas, 26. When you get behind 21-7, you're behind 41-14, you got to throw the football to get back in the game. But I'm going to tell you this, Mr. Bobby Butler, the great one. You mentioned New York ain't got no offense, but Daniel Jones can hurt you. They got Devontae Freeman. Do that name sound familiar?
Absolutely.
Wayne Coleman, a guy out of Clemson. Golden Tate. He can play. Let's don't make no mistake. And Evan Ingram, another local guy to Hillgrove by way of Ole Miss. And there's Slade out of Auburn that you know personally. They got some guys that can get hungry next week against the Dallas defense. And where I'm looking, I'm going to say this to the Cowboys Nation. There was a lot of expectations this year. Bottom line, Super Bowl or bust. I'm going to tell you next week, coming up this Sunday, 4:25 in Texas Stadium, it is the game of the year. If Dallas loses this game and loses it in a bad fashion, the season is going to go in the tank. And all I'm hoping is that 2 things. There's an Earl Thomas sighting. You need a difference maker in the secondary. It cannot be your rookie Trevon Diggs that's struggling. And I'm going to bring out one final point. I'm going to go back to Odell Beckham. On the goal line, somebody point this out when Cleveland had it on the 2-yard line. And BB, explain this to me, and then we're going to move on and end it. You have a safety, Daryl Worley, trying to check Odell Beckham, man to man with no safety, nowhere to be found. You played in this game 12 years. Can you explain to me what kind of coverage is called there? And do the coordinator makes that call? I mean, what's happening here? We're talking about Daryl Woodley, who's played on several teams in the National Football League. He's trying to check Odell Beckham. Can you explain that play to me today?
I I can explain it so well to you. It's called lack of coaching.
Okay.
It's the coach's job and ability to call the defenses. Players don't call defenses or offenses. It's the coach's job to call a defense. And it's the coach's job to put his players in the right position to perform. You can't put a safety on one of the most dynamic receivers in the game today, you know, and he had an awesome game yesterday. You can't do that. And so when you do that, you're going to be exposed. See, I don't blame him for giving up that. I can't blame him for that. It's coaching. Coaching. And I'm for hire. Put it in the Dallas Weekly News.
If you like the video today, please come and share final words from my man, Mr. Bobby Butler, former NFL great, 12 years with the Atlanta Falcons. What's going to happen on Sunday?
Well, like I said, this game is, like I said, we got some bad football on both sides of the game, ball. But I'm going to say this. I got to pick Dallas in this game, man. But I do agree with you. If the Cowboys don't perform well and lose this game, it's a wrap. You can count it gone this year. Y'all can start looking for 2021. But I just don't think the Giants can get it done. I think where they're both bad, they're going to be out there battling their Giants offense against the Cowboys defense. They're both bad. But I will give the edge to Dallas offense versus the Giants defense. But this is the interdivision game. So we can throw out all the data. This is a big time rivalry. Anything can happen. It's going to be interesting. I'm not going to even give you a score today.
My final word concerning the game on Sunday between Dallas and New York. I would say one thing: the gods are looking over Cowboys Nation because they 1-3. Because if there was in any other division, they would probably be out of the playoff race. It's just the NFC East is so bad. What you got the Philadelphia Eagles, who now in first place with a 1-2-1 record.
Right, exactly.
So that being said, I'm gonna be a Cowboys fan, Cowboys Nation, all the way through to the day I die. The bottom line here is the defensive side of the ball, and I'm gonna go back to the offense. Dak Prescott can throw for many yards. You can argue about his contract, but the best player on the Cowboys offense is Ezekiel Elliott, and Dallas has got to run the ball to control the game. As I pointed out last week, they 29-13 when Ezekiel's over 100 yards and they balance 50-50. You could go check the stats. As my man Bobby Butler says, the data doesn't lie. Defensively, I don't know what to say. Maybe I'll talk to Brother Butler after we finish today because I see them with a lot of problems. And right now, I don't see a difference maker within the D-line, within the linebacker position, within the secondary. Like I said yesterday, the D-linemen were getting slow off the ball and wasn't getting to the gaps. The linebackers, Jalen Smith, looked like he never played on the field. He was really having problems with the misdirection plays. And the secondary, Mr. Butler would tell you this. As I'm going to mention the 100th time, this man played in 12 years. Think about that, people. He played in the National Football League 12 years. That's not happening with nobody coming into the league right now. Usually everybody's retired after about, 5 to 6 years. And you should take his opinion very highly. He tells me all the time, tackling is a form of art, and you got to practice on tackling. I don't understand why the Cowboys are having so many problems tackling. And if I see somebody get behind their safeties one more time, me watching the game on Sunday, if I'm at the sports bar this Sunday, you better believe if I see that happen one more time, I'm just gonna drop the cup and say it's over. And maybe give me about 10 or 12 margaritas. So that being said, it's the great Marvin Gaye on Sunday. Let's get it on.
Let's get it on.
If you love the video today, please come and share it. Thank you to Dallas Weekly for allowing us to be on today and enjoy game on Sunday. The season is not over. The Cowboys can still come back and win the division and make the playoffs. Have a blessed day here on 100 Yards Football, and we'll see you next week.